Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
Back in 1862, during the Sioux Uprising, the Native Americans in this area were getting a little riled up, and the citizens, there had been some killings, and the citizens, a lot of them were leaving and going back to the Twin City area or to St. Anthony Falls, and a group of them did not want to leave the frontier here. They were really enjoying it out here, and they gathered here at Forest City. Forest City was the county seat for Meeker County at that time. And it ended up that there was 220 people here, and then they gathered together their thoughts and had contacted the family that lived in the home and in the barn that are inside the stockade walls. And that was the Macy and the Whitcomb families. And they worked out a little deal with them that they could put up the stockade around those two building sites. And after they got it up, it took them 24 hours to put the stockade up. There was a sawmill in downtown Forest City, and that's where, when these people were here, they unloaded their wagons and then went down there and loaded up the logs, brought them over here. And then in a 24-hour time period, they put the stockade up. And after the stockade walls were up, they backed their wagons inside there and then spent 10 days here at the Forest City Stockade. It was never a military installation. Military people come here to help relieve them a little bit towards the end of the 10-day period, but the Native Americans had slowly worked their way south from here after that little skirmish there for those first few days. And then things pretty well settled down. They went down to southern Minnesota, to New Ulm, Mankato area, and continued their harassing of the white people. This was the heart of Forest City at the time, so the buildings that you see here is how Forest City would have looked back in 1862. It was back in 1976. Everybody was gearing up for the bicentennial for the United States, and a group of people from this area just thought that and it was countywide, thought it would really be neat to recreate the Forest City Stockade. So they started on that project and raised money, all out of private funds, and started the building of it, and then built the cabin inside. And that's what got it going. And my wife and I joined the group 3 years later. We went to one of their meetings just to see what the long-range plan was for the site, and they asked us to join their group, and then we've just stuck with it ever since then. We've really enjoyed it and have come here and been a big part of the whole process. Just felt that it should live on longer because it was just really a neat place. I've always loved stockades ever since I was a little boy in school, and I thought, to have one of these in your backyard, why, life doesn't get any better than that. First was the stockade went up first. Once we got the land, then that was set up. And then after the walls and everything were up, then we worked on building the cabin that was inside there. The barn we did not add until 1990. And that was what kept us going to begin with. And then in 88, we just felt that we should work on rebuilding historic Forest City, and that's when we started to add the buildings that are on the west side of the stockade. Started with the land office and then the blacksmith shop, and slowly kept going. We thought it would be a longer period in putting that up, but it's just the people that come to visit us really thoroughly enjoyed all those little places of business, and it just went quicker than what we had ever thought. People would donate log buildings from that 1870 vintage, and when we'd go look at them, they were really nice shape, and we would take them apart and then move them over and reset up.
The one, our general store was all red oak, heavy log, and a lot wider log, a lot thicker log, so they're, you know, insulated. But doing that and handling that, I have a whole new admiration for these people that did it, because they didn't have a tractor with a lift, or, you know. So we've even found, you know, old initials on the German log house, the one we turned into the general store. You can see where they had marked all their corners. Obviously, they had been moved at one point, which a lot of them had. They were a house, moved, became another house, or then became a granary or whatever. So you can see where that one was distinctly marked on the corners with some kind of a red paint in Roman numerals to keep track of their corners. So yeah, and that's to me was a signature. And most of the logs we find, when we find them, you know, lots of the bottom logs rotted or whatever, but we work around. A lot of them are story and a half, so we can save that top 3 log and replace whatever we need to replace. So yeah, it's recycling history.
Educating people is our main assignment while we're here for this weekend, and the same way for the Pioneer Christmases too. But we think that we're the generation now that we do have a lot of high-tech stuff, but really when you think of what they had to work with back then, they had minds that were far greater than what we have nowadays for the things that they were able to come up with and make them work. I mean, it just, it is very amazing. The tools they had to use when we're doing buildings, and then think, we use some power tools, but when they did this all by hand, you talk about putting in a day's work. It's no wonder that none of those folks had cholesterol problems or anything like that. You were working a day that when you got done with your 10-hour shift, why, you'd burned up anything that was in your body. There was nothing extra. You needed to go and get regenerated, where now it's an easy life. I should say something about all our volunteers, you know, that if it wasn't for them, this would be happening. They're the ones that, yeah, they make it work.
There's a dark and a troubled side of life, and there's a bright and a sunny side too. Though you meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side you also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If we'll keep on the sunny side of life. Though the storm and its furies rage today, crushing hope that we cherish so dear, the cloud and storm will in time pass away, and the sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Sunny side of life, it will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If we'll keep on the sunny side of life, let us greet with our song of hope each day. Though the moment be cloudy or fair, and let us trust in our Savior always. He'll keep us everyone in His care. Keep on on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If we'll keep on the sunny side of life, if we'll keep on the sunny side of life. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune thy heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, come for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Name the hand I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. A debtor, daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness as a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above.
The wick is just a string. Yep,
Just a regular string.
String and then just regular
Just like
rocks
this.
from the road tied to the edge. Yep. And
This is a set that we dipped about 200 times.
yep, it's we'll go in order, yeah, to get from here to here is about 200 individual dips. So
So that's not a completed candle. This would be a completed candle right here. So
How many dips is that one?
that a lot more than 200. So yeah,
300? 400?
Probably
Around there.
400.
Probably
Yeah.
stop counting at 200.
yeah.
yeah. So
Is that the natural color of the beeswax?
Yes,
Or
this
there-
is just straight natural beeswax
see.
taken right off of the from the comb.
so here's like just a tray that they
That's what you
had.
start with.
Yep, you start with this and then you melt it in there and you just break little parts off to melt it all. So
And it's just a double boiler. This is a stovepipe that just sits in the water, and the wax is heavier than the water.
Oh, it's floating, or it's sinking to the bottom.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So because the wax is heavier, then it doesn't, no water mixes
Sure.
with the wax, so it just sits in here and acts like a double boiler.
I'll be done. Okay.
Just
I
dip
assumed
it
there was a
in.
bottom to that pipe.
Nope, just sits there.
Just dip it in and go on it to.
It has a very faint honey smell just because of the honey in it, but it's pretty fragrant free. Just kind of, it burns really clean.
These two are original. This is an original here. These two are reproductions. The swords are original Civil War. So they're authentic. This is authentic here that somebody had donated to us out here. Pretty nice. That sword's a reproduction.
Once I stood in the night with my head bowed low in the darkness as black as the sea, and my heart was afraid, and I cried, "Oh Lord, don't hide your face from me. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the great unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Like a king I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call my own. But I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the great unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone.
Table saw.
Table saw, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, an interesting piece. That's original 1860s.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Leather belt. Wow.
This was just an edger saw
Okay.
in a mill,
All right.
and he'd flip it over and he'd go to a 6-inch saw where they'd cut 6-inch board.
The ink's on the ink disc. Goes through the rollers, goes across the form. It's in the bed of the press, and then it comes up, and the form presses against the platen where I put the paper. And I didn't get a piece of paper in there, so I used the throw-off lever to keep them from coming together. That also is the thing, keeps you from sticking your hand in there when you think you don't have the paper just so. Rather than sticking in the second time and try to get it just so, you just throw the throw-off lever, and you can do that at the last minute, and it'll keep them from coming together.
It's the same time. So we just make long stuff.
And you're making something fairly elaborate.
I am. I'm showing people that have these machines that they can make the fancy new ruffle scarves on these machines and not by hand. So it's another way to use the machine.
Sure.
But when they first came out, they were given from the Red Cross to farmers and people. Usually the men were the ones that did the knitting. It was all lower Canada and upper United States. And because the women always are busy, they always work. And the men had this time in the winter, the farmers had this time in the winter. So the men were the ones who made the socks. What, Fred? For the war, during the war.
During wartime, yeah.
So that's why the Red Cross gave a lot of these machines free. So they would make socks in return for the war. But did you get that point that the women are always busy and the men had all this free time, right?
That seemed an important point for you to make.
Oh, it is. It is. We can never retire.
You didn't see any of the men arguing with you either.
Hey, that's a point too. The needle moves up, and then the stitch goes below the latch.
Sure.
And then the new yarn goes in here and pushes it back down and knits it through.
We'll be done.
Who will tie my shoe? And who will glove my hand? And who will kiss my ruby lips when you are gone? Look away, look away over yonder road. He's going away for to stay and return.
Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website www.ruralheritage.com to shop online.